saw that MLB announced that the game one starter is going to be Jack Flaherty. So, one, I guess, congratulations on kind of just that decision. But what does that mean for the team and what led to that decision?
I think obviously Jack's been really good for us. That last start was standing. Yamamoto will start game two. And I think if you're looking at kind of both those pitchers and what the potential World Series could look like, just giving both those guys the best opportunity to participate, to pitch, and put them in the best spots possible, as far as days of rest and things like that.
When you think about just what you've learned about Jack and his time in Dodger Blue and really how you saw him handle game one of the NLCS, what is it about just his performance, his composure on the mound, the intensity, all of that that you like about how he can set the tone in game one of this series?
Well, I think that, it's been good. Obviously, the experience, the way to kind of navigate an outing, he's seen it all. And, even looking at his last start in New York, I think that, self-admitted that certain parts of that game sped up on him. And I think that's a lesson to be learned. And so I think that with Jack, the experience, that's another experience moment for him that I think that can kind of help him in this series right now. So I think that, we got through it, we weathered it. No pun intended. I think he's healthy now, and he'll spit out a good one on Friday.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Next question is from Dave Assay. Go ahead, Dave.
Hey, Dave. I was
Hi, Dave.
I was wondering what the chances are of Vesia and Gratterall being part of your bullpen in the World Series, and also just another part of that question to your bullpen. When did you start to realize they had that identity of the self-proclaimed dogs out there?
Yeah, it was certainly self-proclaimed. I don't know who kind of initiated that, but I couldn't agree more with it. I absolutely feel that these guys are dogs. As far as the Vesia Gratterall question, Vesia, I think, is going to throw a live today or tomorrow. I think it's today or tomorrow, and he's going to throw to some hitters. But they both are trending in the right direction. But I do feel with both those guys, it's going to be a kind of game time decision as far as when we got to submit, if they're going to be viable or not.
Thank you.
You got it.
Next question is from Juan Toribio. Go ahead, Juan.
Hey Dave, Freddie was just in here talking about he feels like he'll be ready to go for game one. Like, how much do you think these couple these days off are going to help him moving forward?
I think huge. I think it certainly hurt him not being able to, be a part of things, and certainly, being a part of game six, but appreciating the fact that we got 4 more days to nurse his ankle back to health. I think there's only upside in that. I think mentally, I think he's in a good spot, anxious, obviously with the ankle, but I don't doubt the fact that he'll be in there for game one. And, hopefully with these days that we've gotten ourselves out of the woods and we can manage him, throughout the World Series.
And then behind Jack, like how do you see Walker and Yamamoto kind of fitting into the pitching plan and then obviously the bullpen game if that's what you guys are going with?
There will be a bullpen game. Yamamoto is going to pitch game two. And I think over the next couple of days, we'll sort of talk through how game 3 and 4 look.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Next question is from Fabian Ardaya. Go ahead.
Yeah, Dave, sort of on that, like how do you sort of balance? Obviously, you want Yamamoto to be able to pitch twice in the series, along with the fact that you probably have a bullpen game during a stretch of 3 games in a row.
Yeah. So I think the Yamamoto piece is pretty easy, giving him a chance to pitch in game two and potentially a game six. And then as far as kind of seeing, how Vesia, Gratterall, how game three potentially looks as we go into game three coming off an off day, is kind of the question, whether it's Walker or a bullpen game or vice versa.
And then with Betts Freddie, like, what do you want to see from his swing just in the next couple days? Just sort of know that he's like in a good spot. Obviously, not just being healthy enough to be out there, but that his swing is back in a good enough spot for you guys.
Actually, before game 6, we had a workout and I thought his swing was trending in the right direction. I think the problem is that once he gets out to play defense, then it sort of takes a downturn. And so that's why we decided not to play him in game 6. But hoping that the 4 days, the swing will continue to get better, the ankle will continue to get better, and he'll be able to withstand playing 9 innings. So I do think that, even today he's going to go out there and take some batting practice. I think the swing's going to be in a good place. Again, it's just kind of seeing how long we can kind of sustain that.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Next question is from Dylan Hernandez. Go ahead, Dylan.
Hey, Dave.
Hi, Dale.
I'm starting to get my meetings all kind of mixed up here. But when you guys talked to Mookie about moving back to right field, when he came back from the injury, do you remember? Did you call him, or was that you and Gomes going to go talk to him? How did that work out?
I talked to him on the phone. I might have talked to him on the phone, but you know what, Dylan, I might have had a conversation with at the ballpark as he was getting closer, and that's probably what it was. As he was getting closer to being back to health, trying to figure out what position he was going to be at. And I think at that point in time, Gavin sort of established himself as playing pretty well at second base. Miggy was playing really well, and kind of by default, just reading the room, it just made a lot of sense, and that's kind of how it started.
Now, I'm sure when you have these conversations, right, you go in for it, you go into it hoping for the best, preparing for the worst. How much better was this than kind of the worst case scenario? And how did, Mookie being kind of so agreeable, I guess, help you better prepare? How much easier did that make it for you to kind of prepare the team in September going into the playoffs?
Having it be Mookie made it 100% easier. It was a 100% outcome with our conversation. That's sort of, speaking for Andrew in the sense of when you commit to a player long term, it's the character, the makeup, but also Mookie's skill set, him in particular, the ability to be dynamic and to be able to bounce him around the diamond. And so all that sort of allowed for the conversation, the ability to sort of play out as such, because we felt that he could do it. We were a better team if he did bounce back out to right field. And so just betting on the fact that he understood what was best for the team. And, even Freddie, just to be able to bounce from third or to fourth, things like that. You have high character guys that really bought in. And to your question, now when guys like that do it, everyone else, has to fall in line as far as whatever roles, wherever they hit in the order, if they play or start or don't start.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next question is from Bill Plunkett. Go ahead, Bill.
Hey, Dave, with Vesia and Gratterall, is Gratterall throwing to hitters?
He is not going to throw to hitters, but he's going to throw a pen, I think, tomorrow.
Fair to say Vesia is more likely then to be on the roster?
I would say Vesia is more likely, but we're going to, push it as far as we can. And, it'll be a final kind of Friday morning situation where we got to make a decision on those two guys.
And what about Miguel Rojas? Where's his status going to be?
I think Miggy Rowe is sort of with those guys. I mean, and I don't really know a percentage, but I do know that, I really feel that it was the right decision not having him on the CS, given his health. He's made some strides. I know he's going to do everything he can to be on the World Series roster, but we still got to be certain that he can run, he can defend the way he can defend. So I'm hopeful, but not certain right now.
And all the attention for this series is on, the big name stars on both teams. But we just saw Tommy Edman win the LCS MVP. How, can the supporting cast be the decisive factors?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, obviously as you said, Tommy proved that that can be the case. Um, it seems like the stars were getting on base and Tommy had the ability to drive those runs in with some big hits. Um, and I think in big series, that's a lot of times how it plays out, where managers, pitchers are more reluctant to let the stars beat them. And it sometimes plays out that way. But like you said, Bill, there's going to be plenty of star power on the field this series.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
Next question is from David Lennon. Go ahead, David.
Hey, Dave. A number of the high-profile Yankees you don't have a ton of experience with, just because you guys haven't crossed paths very often, with the exception of Juan Soto, being in the same league with him for a while and in the same division. Do you think, Dave, that being in that environment he's in now with the Yankees, with Judge, contract year, that he actually has the potential to be a more dangerous hitter than you may have seen in the past?
Um, I hope he can't be more dangerous than he was in the ALCS. We've seen him obviously a lot. Saw him in the postseason with the Nats, and he killed us then. So guys like him, they just love the big stage, the big moment, and you just got to hope that keep guys off base when he gets up.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Next question's from Eric Steven. Go ahead, Eric.
Dave, just checking in on Gavin Lux. How's his hip doing, and do you sort of expect him to be in there for game one?
I do, Eric. I expect him to be in there. I think we did a good job of trying to pick our spots to get him in there, to get a pinch hit here or there, but not to kind of regress with the hamstring, the hip flexor. So I do think that, with these days off, come Friday, he'll be a full go.
And I know you guys still have obviously another series to play, but there's only like 3 guys who've won 4 pennants in their first 9 years since 1900. Sparky Anderson and Frank Chance and you. I was just wondering, you ever get a chance to sort of reflect on what you've sort of accomplished to this point?
You know what, Eric? I don't do a good job. I got to research Frank Chance. I had a chance to meet Sparky Anderson when I was a minor league player with the Tigers back in the day. And so I guess just being fortunate, Eric, and the more you start hearing some Hall of Famers and being in that same conversation, it's mind blowing.
Thanks.
Yep.
Got time for a couple more. Go ahead, Megan.
Hey, Dave. What has Teoscar meant to this team with his impact in the lineup and in the clubhouse? And what is it like to see a veteran like him finally get his chance at the World Series?
He's meant a lot. I think Teoscar, the one thing about him is the consistency. Consistency of how he approaches a game, how he approaches sort of life. He's very easygoing, extremely competitive. And, I give him a lot of credit because, I say this a lot. He left money on the table to sign with the Dodgers, and he wanted a chance to be around some of the best players in the game and learn from these guys. And so he's always, since day one of spring training, he's watched Shohei, Freddie, Mookie really intently and taking things from those guys to kind of enhance his game. But he's another guy that just loves the big moment, the spotlight. And he came up with some big hits in Game 6 for us and has done all year. But he's been certainly very additive for our organization.
And what has the team approach been at the plate that has resulted in success with both the small ball and the long ball in this postseason run?
I think it's been a collective, approach to scoring runs, to creating stress. If it calls for getting a bunt down, stealing a base, getting a guy over, hitting to the opposite field. But I think at the crux, it's controlling the strike zone and, scaring pitchers out of the strike zone when they throw it over the plate. try to hit it hard somewhere. And if they don't, then take your 90 feet.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Next question is from Bob Nightingale. Go ahead, Bob.
Hey, Dave, I was wondering how well do you know Aaron Boone, and have you guys talked about the difficulty and challenge of all the pressure of managing in LA and managing in New York?
So Aaron and I have a good history. We played against each other in college. He went to SC, I went to UCLA. We've got a lot of mutual friends. We sort of have similar circles. I know that we talked before he got the Yankees job, and so we have a very good relationship. During the season, we talked a little bit. I think we talked a little bit when we played him this summer. Haven't reached out in the postseason either way. So we'll catch up on Friday, though. It's going to be exciting.
And you guys ever talked about, your big stolen base for the Red Sox and his big home run for the Yankees?
You know what? We don't, because yeah, so I would probably give him a lot of grief if he brought up that homer to beat the Sox, and he would return the favor to me if I brought up the stolen base. So we don't talk about that very often, but I do think it's very cool that, we played against each other in college, and now as college rivals. And then now, you could just see that this rivalry with, the Dodgers and the Yankees, it's pretty special. It goes way back. And so now we're doing it again, opposing one another. So it's a pretty good story.
Thanks so much, Dave.
Yeah.
All right. Last one's from Steve Henson. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Dave. So Bob just alluded to that, but that was 30 plus years ago that you and Aaron competed against each other in college. You were both, I think, 19 years old when the first time you got UCLA and USC played. What do you remember about those games? And were you friends off the field, or didn't Bruins and Trojans mingle back then?
No, we weren't friends. I think at that point in time, I didn't care too much for him. I don't think he cared too much for me. And I do recall they probably got the best of us back in the day, so it probably enhanced my distaste for him and the Trojans. But he was always a heck of a ball player. You knew, and we played against each other in the big leagues, and so he was always a smart baseball player. Obviously, great pedigree. So you knew he was going to be in the game for a long time, and just couldn't be more excited for him.
Well, how cool is it that 30 years later, you guys are veteran managers facing each other in the World Series?
Yeah, it's really cool. I just wish Coach Gillespie was still around. That'd be great. I know my coach, Coach Adams, still here, but yeah, that would have been a great moment. It's pretty remarkable.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everybody.